Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Mr. Wiz here. If you are new to this channel, we build video games. We already have a ton of videos on my channel that you can check out that shows you how to build games and some other platforms. But right now we are working on Unity. We're only a few videos in, so we're still at the beginning of this process. Today's video is going to be focused on simple, free, easy ways to just change the look of your game. Now, this is a beginner lesson and it's still pretty early on, so there will be videos later on where I'll get into more detail on some of these things. But for now, we're just looking at quick, easy, free resources to completely change the look of a program that you're working on. So, one of my favorite resources is the Unity Asset Store, which I have open right behind me. There is so much stuff in here that you can find. Up here, you can kind of choose what you're looking for. I'm working on right now the 3D first-person shooter microgame, which I've already made a couple of videos on. And that's also what my students have been working on lately. So we're going to talk about that. So if I'm looking for things to use with there, the first thing I'm probably going to do is just pull up 3D. Over here on the right-hand side, I can limit my search. There are different types of 3D things here. So the easiest thing that I can do just to change the look of my game is just to find some cool props, right? So these are going to be models or prefabs that I can throw in that can kind of use as decorations. I can also go down here to pricing and select free. And now I'm just looking at the free stuff. And there is so much stuff in here. A lot of this I've used before. A lot of it I haven't used before because the asset store is constantly changing. Look right there. There's 1,535 results. It's crazy. So there's gun prefabs. There's furniture free prefabs, rocks. So much stuff that I could use to quickly decorate my game. So yeah, that's a great way to just change the look. It's just to download decorations, which you can throw into your game. And I'll show you more about that in a second. But it's not just these, right? There's a lot of other stuff. One of my favorite things is skyboxes. If you do a search for skyboxes, and once again, make sure you set that to free. If we're just looking at free resources, I can go to price, free. Now I'm looking at free skyboxes. So skyboxes are literally 360 pictures or images that surround your world and create the sky, right? So they can also kind of change the way look of the ground depending on what you have in your world. But yeah, it's a 360 image like you would get with a 360 camera. And they completely surround your world. So there's lots of them here. I love the package ones where you can get a lot at once. I find that easier because you only have to download it one time. You can kind of go through them and see what you have. So I've used both of these before. They're both really great. But there are a lot of other good ones in here. Ooh, I've never seen that one. I might need to try that sometime. So yeah, skyboxes are a great way to change your game as well, but they don't just change the look of the sky. They can also change the lighting in your world. So for instance, if you're doing a bright sunny day, your map is going to be a little bit brighter. But if you're doing a dark cloudy sky in your skybox, the world's going to be a little bit darker and cloudier, right? So Unity is good at making the lighting in your world kind of match the skybox. So it's a great way to make a simple change, a very simple code swap in the Unity program that can completely change the way your game looks. Okay, so we talked about, what was the other stuff I want to talk about? Oh yeah, materials. There were three things I want to talk about today. So there's the prefabs that you can quickly download. There's skyboxes you can quickly download. And then the one I always forget to tell people about is the materials. Oh my goodness. Materials are awesome. It's one of my favorite things. So if you do a search for materials, there's a lot of stuff that comes up. Of course, once again, I'm going to switch to free. So these are some of the free materials that you're going to see. So this one's showing a bunch of ground types. So some of them are gravel, some of them are grass. World materials is a bunch of stuff. And I think I have downloaded this one before. This one has different types of metal looking things. So all these materials basically act as textures that you can put on an object in your world. The cool thing is you can put it on any object in your world, even things that are pre-built. You can go back and you can edit them and you can change their material, which is really cool and gives you a lot of creative freedom. There's lava, which I've definitely used before. Wooden floor, that I don't think I've used that one, but it looks really good. Concrete, so much stuff here. Brick, wood, so much stuff. Looks like there's 2,000 free materials in here. So with just these things, with props, skyboxes, and materials, you can completely change the look of your world. So now let's go back to my FPS micro game and let's make some of these changes. I'll show you how easy it is. So here's the game that I've been working on. Now, if you did the tutorial, it already showed you how to do this little checkerboard thing where you can change the color of the floor. But what if I don't want it to be a checkerboard? What if I want my floor to look like something completely different? So this is where the materials are going to come in handy. So let's go ahead and download some of the stuff. If you download something from the asset store and you click on it and you add it to your assets, usually there'll be a pop-up that will say open in Unity. But if that doesn't happen, or if you're trying to access something that you've downloaded in the past, you can access it by going to Window, Package Manager, and anything that you've ever downloaded will be in here. So there's the modular kit that I used when I first made my FPS game, which I showed, I think, in the last video. So I've used this before. And then there's things like abandoned buildings, which I've used in some other games. So everything that I've ever downloaded has been here. There's a lot of stuff. Right now I have 98 packages that I've downloaded. You can also do a search. So real quick, let me see which materials that I have right now. I'm going to do a search for material. Let's use, the skybox one. Yeah, let's definitely import that. I love skyboxes so much. And then let's also do tiling texture. This is a good one. Okay, so those are a couple old materials that I've used in the past that we're just going to reuse in this program. What else should we download? We already downloaded a skybox. Oh yeah, let's look at some props. What props do I want to download in this game that I can use for decoration? How about the abandoned building one? Let's go ahead and do that one. So that will completely change the look of my game. Instead of being really sci-fi, maybe this will be a little bit more of a post-apocalyptic style game. And then let's download something else just for fun. I was looking at earlier before I started recording, and I remembered that I have this hat pack. So I downloaded this a long time ago. Let's import this one, and we'll have some fun with that too. All right, so let's go take a look at our game now and make some changes. So the first thing I wanted to do is I said I wanted to change this checkerboard floor. So I could grab one of these materials. Now, right now I'm in the all material section over here. I could grab one of these materials and drag and drop, but I want you to notice what's happening. If I do that, it only changes on that one tile, and it would take me forever to change all the floor, right? So instead of dragging and dropping directly into my world, I need to change the prefabs. So if I go to all prefabs, what I need to do is I need to find the piece that makes up the smallest part here. So for instance, right here, I have base floor. If I double click on that, well, that's a big open floor, but it's still not the smallest piece. And in fact, over here on the left-hand side in the hierarchy, I can see the parts that make up it. So the base floor is made up of these four things. Well, what's this 15 by 15 made up of? This is made up of floor, 3 by 3. Well, what's that made up of? I can keep on clicking this arrow. That's made up of basic floor. And basic floor looks like it is its own thing. All it has in there is the mesh. So what I really need to do is find the basic floor prefab. So let's find that. And it's right, it's one of these two, it looks like. There's two of them here. This one says basic floor mesh, and this one says basic floor. Okay, so let's do the basic floor. And go back to all materials. And now I can put some materials on there to figure out what I want to use. So I just need to find the material that I want to use for this. Oh, here's some concrete ones. So that's kind of like silver concrete. This one's a little bit darker. I kind of like that darker concrete. I can put that on both of them. And now I've got a great concrete texture. So let's go back to my game. To get back to the game from the prefabs, all I got to do is click on the arrow to the left of the name up here in the hierarchy. And it backs me out, and it does ask me if I want to save it, and I do. So it's saving those changes. And look, all my floors are now looking like that concrete slab that I just made. And I can hop in my game, and I can take a look at that firsthand. There we go. Cool, cool, cool. Let's change these walls now, too. So I'm trying to do a post-apocalyptic type world. So I'm thinking if I can change the walls to some sort of wood color, maybe, that would look good. So once again, I do need to find the smallest part of the wall. So let's open up one of these prefabs and see if we can figure out what makes it up. So here's my walls. Looks like the walls are made up of the 4M. And that does look like the smallest area. So let's go ahead and find the 4M prefab. Wall 4M. There we go. All right, so let's go back to materials. And I think one of those packages I downloaded had wood, which I think would look great if I can find it. Oh, here we go. Wooden planks, wooden mat. Decide which one I like better. I think I like the wooden mat better. There we go. That's not bad. Now, if I want to spend a lot of time on this, I'm sure I could find some stuff that's maybe a little bit better. Oh, here's some brick ones. What would brick look like? Oh, I kind of like the brick better. Yeah. All right, so let's go ahead and try it. So I'm going to go back by clicking on the arrow to save it. And now my world should be full of that. And here we go. So real quickly, I've made 2 giant changes in my game. I changed the way the floor looks. I changed the way the walls look. It's already looking less like a sci-fi game, right? Kind of reminds me of some of the old classic video games from the 80s now. All right, so let's keep making some more changes. As you can tell, I've already changed my skybox once, but let's talk about the skybox again. So in the all materials section, any skyboxes you downloaded should be in here. And you can see I've got several here that I can drag and drop. And I want you to notice how much the lighting changes when I change that, right? So these are really dark. If I hop in here, it's a pretty dark scene. There's still a lot of light coming from the direction of the sun. But other than that, it's pretty cool. So yeah, skyboxes can change a lot. But you know what? If I'm going to make this dark scene, that sun's really bothering me. So let's change it. Over here in the hierarchy, I'm going to look for something called directional light. Here it is. Directional light is basically what we think of as sunlight or moonlight. It's the main light source of your game. So I just zoomed in on it by pressing the F key to find it. So this is the directional light, which is making up the majority of the light in my game. If I wanted my game to be darker, I'm going to need to make some edits to it. So over here, where I have my stats and my light stats, let's make some changes. So one thing I can change is the color of the light. So right now it's giving off an orange light, which actually isn't bad. If I'm doing the sunset skybox, it would kind of make sense that it would be maybe orangish. Maybe I'd go a little bit more of the reddish orange, maybe something like that. That would look pretty good. All right, I can also change the intensity. So this is the brightness of the light, right? So if I'm doing nighttime, I probably don't want to go with 0.55, maybe 0.3. Let's try it. All right, and then down here you have things like shadows, which I'm not going to change. I actually like the rest of this. All I'm changing right now is the color and the intensity. So now let's take a look at how it looks in my game. Ooh, it's already a little bit darker, for sure. For sure. Yeah. All right. Now, of course, I do have the one small problem where the sun does not actually line up with where it is in the skybox, right? So if we're looking at my world here, the sunset's happening over here, but my light's over there. So how can I change that? Well, that would be a great use of the rotation. So I'm going to use rotation, and I'm going to rotate my directional light. So I'm changing where the light is coming from. You see how I'm doing that? So I'm rotating my light. When you rotate light, all it's really doing is rotating, when you rotate directional light, there's different types of light, right? So when you're rotating directional light, what you're really doing is choosing where the light is coming from. So now it's coming from over there, but this is kind of a sunset in my skybox, so I might lower it a little bit. So let me rotate the red one as well. There we go. So now the light's coming from around the same area as where the sun should be. Looks like it anyway. It's pretty close. Let's test it out in game. So the shadows and everything kind of fit better with the sunset idea. Oh boy, I forgot that I made these enemies harder to kill in the previous video. Give me those cheeseburgers. I need to survive this video. Ah, no. Let me survive. Let me live. Okay, I'm not going to live. But you see the idea. So changing the directional light can be a fun way to make small edits to your game as well. Changing its brightness, changing its direction. So yeah, so we talked about changing materials on objects. We talked about changing the skybox. We talked about changing the directional light. What was the other stuff I want to talk about? Oh yeah, you can also edit the appearance of things like enemies, right? So I've got my turret dude here. I could also use any of these materials on him. So maybe I wanted him to look silver. I could put the silver material on him. I wanted him to look more gold colored. I could put some of this gold material on him, right? And you can do that to individuals, or you can do that to prefabs. Just remember, if you do it to the prefab, it's going to happen to all of them, right? So if I take one of my enemy bots here, and I decide to change his materials, it will affect all of them. So what might I decide to do with him? I can make him this glowing yellow color. That's actually kind of cool looking. Ooh, that's really crazy. So yeah, lots of stuff here I could play around with if I wanted to, and that would change all of them. That might be a little bit too much. I think I may have overdone it. So let me edit undo a little bit here. I like that one, actually. So I'm going to click the arrow to go back, and now all my hoverbots should be that glowing yellow color. So yeah, pretty straightforward stuff you can do with the materials and making quick, easy edits. Oh, look at all my glowing robots now. Very cool. Creepy. Creepy, creepy, creepy. Okay. I wanted to mention also, I think I may have done this in one of the other videos. I'm forgetting what I've already recorded. You can also put things, put prefabs on other prefabs, editing them that way. So in the all prefab section, I'm going to go ahead and go to the hoverbot again. And I'm looking for the hats that I downloaded. I downloaded a bunch of hats. Do you guys see them? Where are my hats? Maybe they're in all models. Oh, here they are. They're in all models. Okay, so what's the difference between a model and a prefab? I think I've mentioned it in a previous video. Models don't have stats on them. Prefabs do. So let's decide to give all of my robots... I think there's a mustache one in here somewhere. Where's the mustache? I thought I'd sworn there was a mustache. Maybe I don't see it. Oh, there it is. Mustache. I'm going to give all my robots a mustache. Now they are a fancy robot. Fancy, fancy, fancy. And of course, I want to try to line up as best as I can. So I need to check this from multiple angles. Oh, it's floating away. So I'm holding down the Alt button to rotate around and check different angles. Not bad. Yeah, not bad. All right, let's test it out. I got a gold robot with a mustache. Here he comes. Aha, hello, good sir with the mustache. Yes, worked pretty well. So yeah, some great easy ways to change your games. Oh yes, I forgot we talked about prefabs and downloading prefabs into your game. Which ones did I download? I think I downloaded the houses, right? So I'm guessing, where is the houses that I downloaded? I downloaded some. You guys saw me do it, didn't you? Oh, it's these, the ones in pink. No. Okay, so what to do if a prefab shows up as bright pink? Basically, when you see this, that means that the texture that came on it is not applicable with your current software settings, right? Unity does make things at different quality levels. And so if the material that they were using doesn't match the materials for your particular project, you get this hot pink color instead. Now, there are ways to fix that, but it is frustrating. So if I can figure out what material it was that they were supposed to have on it, let me see. Right here it says M House Ruined material. All right, I'm going to go find the M House Ruined material. M House Ruined. It's one of these. Okay, that one. I can go to Edit. I can go to Rendering, Materials, and I can convert it to URP and hope that works. Fingers crossed. It worked! Ha-ha! Sometimes you can convert materials to your current settings and it works. It doesn't always work, but it did work this time. So now I've got something that I can use and I can throw in my game. Cool, cool, cool. So let me go ahead and grab that prefab for that house. I already lost where it was. Ruined house, right? Where is it? It was one of these, wasn't it? It was this one. Yeah. Okay. So let me put that. It still looks hot pink in the icon, but that's just because the icon hasn't updated yet. A lot of times when you make those changes, it takes a little while for the whole system to realize it. I'm going to use my right mouse arrow and WASD to fly over to this part of the map because I want to put the house in here. All right. So I'm going to drag it, drop it, and there is my ruined house. Cool, 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 cool. I'm going to rotate it around, decide where I want to put it. Is there a way to walk inside of it? Doesn't really matter. Okay, so I want to mention something else then about these prefabs. Sometimes when you download things, they have colliders and sometimes they don't. What a collider is it allows you to walk inside of things, okay? So I need to give myself a jetpack so I can move around this map easier. Let me just give myself a jetpack real quick for the sake of this video, because I keep on getting killed by robots. So let me put a jetpack near where the player is. All right, so player starts here. Pick up jetpack. I'm going to put that right there. Okay, so now I can get over there. So let me load my game. I'm going to pick up this jetpack, and I'm going to fly over to the side of the map. Okay, so here's the building I just put in my game. I want you to notice that I cannot walk through the building. When I walk into the walls, I stop. That means that this prefab has a collider already on it. Not all prefabs do. So when you're downloading a prefab, if you realize that you can't walk through the object, or you can walk, if you download a prefab and you realize you can walk through the object and it's kind of losing some of the realism to your game, the best thing to do is to put a collider on it. So for this one, the house ruined that I just used, my collider is right here where it says mesh collider. If it didn't have this, so I'm just going to turn it off to show you what I mean. If it didn't have this, then I would walk right through the walls. And now it's really just a picture. It's just an image that doesn't actually affect my game at all, right? So depending on how you want to use your props when you download 3D props, you may or may not want colliders on them. If you do put a collider on them, just make sure you're using a 3D collider. So if you're adding a collider to something, you would just go to Add Component. I would type in collider, and then find the one that fits it best. So box colliders should be used for things that are kind of rectangular shaped. Capsule colliders are kind of oval shaped. There's mesh colliders, which are for weird shaped objects. So this is an example of a mesh collider because it fits the walls but leaves the inside empty. If I put a box collider on it, then I wouldn't be able to go inside of it because it would basically put a box around the whole thing. So here you can kind of see the colliders. Let me turn off the mesh collider. So that's a green box collider right there. I can't even get in the building because there's no openings. There's no way to get in the building with the box collider. But with the mesh collider, I can. And we'll talk more about colliders in a future video. But yeah, just something to know about. If you download something and you can walk right through it, that just means it doesn't have a collider. So you'd want to put one on there that fits the shape relatively well. There's sphere colliders, which are made for sphere shapes, right? So just find the collider that fits your shape best. And if you're not sure if it's a weird shape, try the mesh collider. Okay, so that's all I want to say about that. This video is actually longer than I was expecting it to be. So have fun. Change the textures of your things. Use the skyboxes. Use the materials. Get creative with it. Don't forget to change the directional lighting. It's a fun way to do that, right? And then if you learned something new today, click that like button. And if you're not already subscribed, please subscribe. I'll see you guys in a future video. I've got a lot more to make and probably a couple more on ways to edit this game. If I'm not, I'm thinking I might do one on creating your own guns. That's probably what I'm going to do next. All right. So I hope I see you there. Thanks for watching.